7 o'clock. I'd like to start out the meeting by, if everyone could stand and we could pledge allegiance to the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Bloomfield Township Zoning Board of Appeals for the meeting of May 14th, 2024. As a brief introduction, the Zoning Board of Appeals is a 7-member quasi-judicial body appointed by the Bloomfield Township Board of Trustees per Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. Matters pending before the Zoning Board of Appeals are decided on a case-by-case basis. Any appeal of a decision made by the Zoning Board of Appeals is subject to circuit court review. Each case will be called separately in the order shown on tonight's agenda. There will be an opportunity for public comment at one point during each case. All persons wishing to comment will be asked to provide their name and address at the podium and address your comments to the board and not the applicant or members of the public. Given the numbers of appeals tonight, please make your comments brief. Comments made by the Neighborhood Association will be considered as part of the factual information presented to the board, but it is not the determining factor for approval or denial. Please confine your comments to the specific requests before the board. For a request to be successful, an affirmative vote of at least 4 members present is required. So we hope that this provides a better understanding of what you can expect at tonight's meeting, and we thank you. And now we will actually approve. I think we're going to do attendance.
So noted.
Okay, and then I also need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move to approve the April 9th, 2024 minutes.
Support.
Great, I have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are approved. I guess we'll start with our first case. 1T, is the applicant here? Please come to the podium, state your name and address, please.
Good evening, guys. Todd Stamper, 1375 Scenic Court.
And you have a brief summary of your application?
Yeah, I was in for approval already for the majority of the work. I did not know that by replacing an existing retaining wall that I had to come back to do that. There was a retaining wall built out of boulders that's been there for about 30 years, and I didn't feel comfortable investing in the driveway we're putting in with it holding it up because the previous driveway had a lot of, it was moving. So we took the retaining wall out and installing a engineered retaining wall in the same locations that the old retaining wall was.
Is the height the same as the old wall?
Yeah, it's under 10 feet or right at 10 feet.
Okay,
so it must. I don't know if this
not
code.
Changing the height of what existed before.
No, the grade of the house set the height, and it was existing before.
You show the next picture.
That's the material. The city's also inspected the areas we temped in to hold the driveway up. So each stone has 7 feet. You set a stone and then it's 7 feet of fabric that holds back, so it guarantees no movement.
Yeah, any other questions from the board? Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Does anybody like to speak to this matter? I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board for any other questions or discussion or motion.
With respect to the property located at 1375 Scenic Court, I would move to approve the dimensional variance for the retaining wall exceeding 4 feet in height, as the applicant has demonstrated practical difficulty. Compliance with the strict little ordinance would be burdensome because of the unique changes in grade in the property. There's no injustice to adjoining neighbors, as he's simply replacing what had existed before with a new wall. The unique circumstances I've already discussed, and that being the change in topography and being able to retain it to maintain the driveway. And this is not self-created. if this is approved, an application for all necessary permits must be made within 1 year for the proposed retaining wall. All permits must be obtained prior to construction. And this is something I don't believe we need. Oh, we do need additional screening?
You might want to look at the photos, see.
Because it looked to me like that it was far enough removed.
I think you're right.
From the road, so.
I have landscaping going along the wall either way, so I don't know. I'm not going to leave like a bare block wall. It looks.
Yeah, I guess I would go without any additional landscaping on this.
Support?
I have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good night.
Next up, we have 1P. Item number 1P is the applicant here. Perfect. Please state your name and address and summarize your application, please.
Kai Becker is my name, 2940 Macefield Drive. The application is about the installation of an above-ground pool. The image here shows the satellite picture of the part of the property. The pool is 18 feet in diameter, and actually it's 52 inches high, so higher than 4 feet. It's in the backyard of the property, but in the prolongation of the driveway. The pool, as we position it here, encroaches into this fixed 16 feet limitation to the neighbor lot. That's just an image of the pool, just to confirm the dimensions of the pool. And what you can also see from the pool construction, this is just a rig where you hang the liner in, so there's not a massive installation. This shows a couple of pictures from the street onto the property. So the left picture, if maybe you see the pool, maybe not behind the truck. Going from north to south view is the bottom right picture. So that shows that there are plenty of bushes and hedges to the south neighbor, which is family Socha. And I think on the other pictures, yes, this is the other direction view to the north, to our neighbor Julie. And the lower picture shows a closer view to the location of the pool. In some of the papers that have been prepared for tonight, there was one comment by a neighbor that said the pool is not in the proper place. I would want to just explain why we put it there. Those above ground pools are, well, most of you might have seen some funny home videos where those pools are rupturing open and all the water mass flows out. And I don't want to have this behind the house ranch style and have all the water in the house. With that location, it would be kind of granted that the water runs off the driveway towards the storm drain and the road anyways. Of course, we're happy to put greenery right there. So if someone gets disturbed by the view, and if you pay attention, you might see it from the road. Could be evergreens like arborvitae or hydrangeas. So we're pretty open there. What we want to do about that.
Any questions from the board? I'll open the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to this matter? Please state your name and address, please.
Yes, Marty O'Neill. My wife and I live at 2860 Whittier. We're in opposition of the pool. In general, we're opposed to pools in the township. Specifically, we're very opposed to this pool for many reasons. First, it's hideous. It's a box store pool. If it's prone to breaking, I can't believe we're even here to discuss that a pool that could possibly break is being put in our township. Specifically, this has no fence. It has no green space. The only thing covering it, you can see in the bottom left of the bottom right photo, is a massive wood pile that I would say is ratty at best. There is no greenage around it. You can see the pool clearly from the street. It's an eyesore for our neighborhood and for the township in general. I think as a whole, all of us have an obligation to protect our investment and to live somewhere where we're proud, whether it's our neighborhood or anywhere across the township. And I think approving this pool would set a precedent that would be difficult to turn around in our neighborhood and anyone else who would approach you in the future. And I ask you to please deny the request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Roberge at 2849 Macefield Drive, Bloomfield Hills. I also oppose the pool. I believe it's unsightly. It's very visible from the street. My wife's a realtor, and we did some research through some software she has, and from what we can tell, there are no pools, above ground pools, in the township at all. And I don't want this to be the first one. There's many above ground pools in Warren and Sterling Heights, and I'm not disparaging those cities, but we pay a premium to live here, and we don't need to start setting a precedent with above ground pools. So furthermore, it's a safety issue, and has been for the last year because there is no fence. Kids can get in there, and I just don't think it just went up without any notification of the township, any neighbors, and it's just disrespectful of the neighborhood and the township. So we're in opposition to this. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to this matter?
I would like to
Okay,
mention one more word if I can.
Yes, I will close the public hearing and you can address any of those concerns.
I apologize that the pool is up already. We moved into this neighborhood and we moved to the United States from Germany not even 3 years ago, and we were not familiar with the rules. We've been screening the library of ordinances. We didn't see any mention about above ground pools, so we didn't consider this. And I think also you wouldn't organize a public hearing for, say, something like a trampoline or so that is comparably removable quickly. Thank you.
We also did receive some letters also from residents in your
Yeah, I think one of the
area as well.
letters was represented here in person.
Okay. Any other questions from the board or discussions?
So, yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think I've been on the ZBA now about 20 years in some form or another, and I don't recall that we've ever approved a structure, an above ground pool, because it is not compatible with what exists in our neighborhoods. And I guess that's just a comment I have. And I would be prepared to make a motion, but go ahead with it.
Well, I was gonna say that, I haven't been on the board, as long as you have, but in my time on the board, we had one request for an above ground pool, and we did require them to remove the pool. And one thing that we haven't discussed is also the 4-foot encroachment into the 16-foot required setback. So that's another concern, because we like to have those setbacks in the township to give neighbors privacy. And obviously a pool is going to have people in the pool talking, and being in that, being closer to the neighbor is problematic in my opinion in that regard. But I'll leave you if you'd like to make a motion or if there's further discussion.
I think I'm just going to start with the permission request, because I think if that motion passes, we don't have to go any further on this. But with respect to the property located at 2940 Macefield Drive, I would move to deny the permission request for the existing above ground pool. The structure is not compatible with the adjoining properties or essentially Bloomfield Township, what we're looking for accessory structures. And the use is really not appropriate in the neighborhood. We've heard comments from the neighbors concerned about it, concerns of safety because of the lack of the fence and the location. The location also is not appropriate, and it's fully visible from the street. I get that. Don't shake your head a bit. And it's simply not harmonious to the neighborhood at all. And for that reason, I would just move to deny the permission request, in which event we would not consider the dimensional variance.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, I'm sorry. Since that was denied, you'll have to remove the pool within 30 days.
Of the
Approval of the minutes,
Yes.
So let me
which
go-
essentially is 60 days from today.
so
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Essentially, it's 60 days from today. At the next meeting, they will approve the minutes, and you have 30 days to remove the pool from the approval of the minutes. Which then the restoration would be that you'd have to restore the grass in that location.
Do you understand? Okay, so let's do that again. So I have a motion support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have item number 1. Oh, you're fast.
I'm already here. Hi, good evening. My name's Chris Cole. I live at 3365 Morningview Terrace. I am seeking approval to renovate our front porch. The current porch, which the size of the renovation is the exact same as the current footprint. The current footprint sits in the within the 40-foot setback. So it's 16 feet within the 40-foot setback already. So for us to renovate, we would need a variance for to be able to continue to have it there. Renovation is just purely to modernize the front of the house. We already have approval from the neighborhood as well for this, went through that process. And actually we went through this process in 2020, but due to supply chain and everything else, we're not able to do it within the 1 year. So we are back asking for a variance again.
And this is already non-conforming as well, existing. Okay.
Yep.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I believe you already said it, but just to confirm, the 16 feet is already existing and you're just replacing
Yeah,
that.
we're just replacing and not changing the footprint.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to this matter? And I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board if you have any other questions or discussion.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair. Okay.
Please.
So with regard to the dimensional variance appeal at.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Oh, hello.
Thank you.
Okay, with regard to the dimensional variance appeal at 3365 Morningview Terrace for the 16-foot encroachment into the required 40-foot front yard setback and expanding the existing non-conforming structure, I move that this variance be approved as requested. Based on the information, the applicant did demonstrate all standards for practical difficulty because compliance with the strict letter of the ordinance would be unduly burdensome due to the fact that the structure is already out of compliance. There's no injustice to adjoining neighbors by reason that this is actually an improvement and technically a replacement of the current front porch. Further, unique circumstances of the property have been demonstrated due to the fact that it is a corner lot and the existing structure is also non-compliant, and obviously that is not self-created. So if approved, the motion must include application for all necessary permits to be made within 1 year for the Hang on. Yes, to be made within 1 year.
Support.
That's it.
Okay, I have a motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, congratulations. Request is approved.
Thank you.
I missed.
Who seconded that motion? Stephanie.
Okay, next item. Item number 2, is the applicant here? Perfect. Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Anastasia Zimmerman, 3746 North Darlington. We are here today seeking approval for the, what we had submitted to the township is different than what you have up there. We submitted, the structure's actually 18 by 22. So just a note of that.
And the height? It's still the
Um,
same.
I'm sorry?
The height.
Height still 16 feet?
Correct. No, the height of the chimney is 16.
Chimney.
Yes, yes. So the structure is 18 by 22. Height of the chimney is 16. Height of the structure is 14.
Okay.
Okay. And then we're also asking to go into the setback about 2 feet.
Patty, can I ask a question? Sure. I missed this when I was reviewing this before. They require a variance for the pavilion exceeding 4 feet in height?
Is that supposed to say 14 feet?
It's 14.
14.
Oh,
14.
okay, all right.
Okay.
All right. So I have a question for you.
Sure, sure.
Yes, 14.
You've got 2 feet encroaching.
Yes.
If it were 18 by 20, you would not have 2 feet encroaching.
We would not. Oh.
If you cut off
It's
2,
smaller.
if you made it smaller, you
We
would
did.
not-
I'm sorry. So what the paperwork that we submitted had the 18 by 22. So somehow it got converted after we submitted the paperwork. So in the paperwork that we submitted,
That's what's on the.
oh
screen.
yeah, 18 by 22.
It's just the
Yeah. So
notice
we
information.
didn't sink it down. No.
No, no.
She's
That's
asking
not
you
my
a question.
question. My
Oh, yeah.
question is, you're here because you need a variance because you're sticking out 2 feet.
Correct.
If you made it 18 by 20, you would not be sticking out 2 feet and
Sure,
require that
sure.
variance.
Right. We can bring it in.
Okay, so we could throw that
Yes,
variance out.
absolutely. We're
Okay.
happy to consider that.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Because otherwise, we're just talking about the fact that because of the fireplace, you've got 2 extra feet in height.
Right.
And that would make it much simpler in terms of what we have to do.
Right. And
Okay.
that would be fine.
Okay, that's good.
I have a question.
Yes.
The presentation that you have here, is that the larger building or the smaller building?
This picture right here, this, I think it's of the actual building. I mean, it's not the actual building. Well, my designer is here. Can she come up and help me with this question?
What was the question?
It appears that the chimney is higher than it needs to be. If the building is smaller than what this is showing, you only have to be a certain height above the ridge for the chimney height. So it's,
Yeah, we can bring the chimney down if it's permitted with the fire code that's involved in a wood burning fireplace. And so if it has to come down and it's allowed to come down, we can do that.
so it's smaller, then the ridge
Yep.
comes down and the chimney comes
Yes,
down.
that's
So
correct.
it may be that you don't need to have an appeal for the chimney height.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering, because you still have to maintain the same pitch on the roof, right? So aren't you still going to end up with 2 feet above the roof line at the same pitch?
Right, because the height hasn't changed.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, the roof doesn't become flatter if the building becomes smaller.
It
The
becomes
pitch
lower as it comes in. It becomes lower.
Yeah. Will it with the
There's
2
no
feet?
Yes.
Maybe
It
not
could. Not quite 2 feet, but it would lower this chimney. This chimney looks like it's very high in this presentation to me.
Yeah, it might just be that it looks that
Yeah, it
high.
may just be the,
It's not just
But-
only.
because
Right.
it's really, if you look at the one over there, you see it just kind of peeking over the point.
Right. So I think that the code would dictate the height and so we'll follow the code and it'll be the right height.
So just a clarifying question. So as the diagram indicates, right now you've got the peak of the roof. Would there be any problem from a fire code standpoint if the top of the chimney were even with the peak of the roof? Would that be okay?
I don't.
It cannot?
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
feet, it's got to be 2 feet within a 10-foot radius.
Yeah.
Oh, 10
Right.
foot, okay.
And that's the code that we'll follow.
Okay,
Make sure it's that way.
okay.
So there's a possibility that you may not even need possibly the variance with the smaller footprint.
So, yeah, so I guess.
Or maybe all of the variance.
Right.
All of
Right,
the
right.
variance.
But
All of it.
we could work with something that, so they wouldn't have to come back just in case.
No more than 2 feet.
Yes,
above the
yes.
height.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, let me open it to the public. Would anyone like to speak to this?
Yeah.
Better? Okay, please. Please state your name and address, please.
My name is John Fortuna. I live right behind the folks here at 3743 North Darlington. My wife, Susie, and I submitted a letter regarding the infringement on the 16 feet. They've, as you can see, they have a pool, so that 16 and not infringing on the 16 feet is important to us. Also, the height, as you were talking about the height. When they built the pool, it's our opinion that they raised the. So when you look at, I don't know how the township determines the height. Is it from the ground, or is it from? I think they built another 2 or 3 feet above the ground when they put the pool in. So if you look at their patio around the pool, that's higher than ground level. So now if you go another, whatever it is, 14, 16 feet, you're going up beyond from the ground level, probably 18, 17, whatever feet it may be. So I think before we would, whatever the township wants to do, they probably need, the way they came prepared this evening, probably better plans to present to you on actually what they're doing from a height and a depth perception based upon using the ground as base level, as opposed to, 14 feet, 16 feet, from what level are they starting at? And then again, I heard with the other ones that having a 16 foot or feet, as far as distances between setback is important. And so we just want to make sure they do that as well.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Would anyone else like to speak to this matter? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. You can come back up to the podium.
Yeah, I'm happy to address, I don't know if you can see other pictures. It is definitely, the pool and the pavilion are at the level they were always at. We had to build up if you can, I don't know if you have the properties around it.
There you go. That would,
So the,
we have a pointer if you'd like to point.
yeah, 3732. And then I believe the neighbor behind us who just spoke, 3743, that patio is level on to their property. So it is, there's a sunken lower level that it existed. It's just sunken, but we did not change the grade of the upper level at all. It's the same as it always was.
You can see on the view to the east that the pool is at the level of the property next to it. And that didn't change.
And also the property behind.
Yeah. So the sunken patio he was referring to had always been there. It was always a lower patio, existing.
Yes. So, we're happy to, bring it in so that we don't have to
Go into the setback.
And also, I believe that the structure's 14 feet, so then we would go, I think you have to go 2 feet above that, so the height of the chimney would be 16 feet.
We're going to adjust that down if we can.
If possible.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Right.
We'll just follow what the code is. Yep.
Any other questions from the board? Bring it back to the board for any further discussion or a motion.
With respect to property located at 3747 Darlington Road, I would move to grant the permission request for the proposed pavilion and fireplace, as the applicant has demonstrated compliance with section 42-7.6 standards. The structure is compatible with the neighborhood and will not be injurious or harmful to any of the neighbors. With respect to the dimensional variances, I would move to approve a variance of up to 2 feet for the fireplace on the pavilion. I want the motion to reflect that we are not approving the request for a 18 by 22 feet pavilion, as the applicant has agreed to reduce that down to 18 by 20 feet, therefore not requiring the variance from the setback. I also want to note in the motion that it would be approving an encroachment for the fireplace of up to an additional 2 feet, because once the structure is redesigned to bring it in from the setback, you may be able to lower it. So we would want the height to be only the maximum amount required by the fire code. If this motion is approved, application for all necessary permits must be made within 1 year for the pavilion. All permits must be obtained prior to construction. And with respect to this, it appears it's been submitted with the landscaping plan, that this landscaping is going to be all the way around it. And so to be conditioned on that screening being installed as shown on your plan.
Support.
I have a motion in support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you
Request is
so
granted.
much. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, number 3. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jovian Kizzy. The site address is 1455 Lone Pine Road. I'm here today seeking approval for a cabana off the pool deck area that is no more than 14 feet high, 15 feet in depth, and 22 feet wide.
Any questions from the board?
Excuse me, will it be screened?
Yes, it will be.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Do you know what kind of evergreen screening you plan to use?
Well, we plan on using arborvitaes. We have a very big tree count that we have to replace around the property. So we're definitely planning on using a lot of that tree count for the backside of the property where the entertaining will be.
Any other questions? Okay. Then I'll open up the public hearing. Anyone like to speak to this item? I'll close the public hearing. Bring it back to the board for any other questions or motion. Great.
In regard to the appeal at 1455 Lone Pine Road, for the accessory structure, I move the request be approved as submitted. Based on information presented, the applicant did demonstrate compliance with section 42-7.6 standards. Because the location of accessory structure will not hinder or discourage the adjacent use of the property due to the fact that it meets the setback requirements and meets the height. Application for all necessary permits must be made within 1 year for the proposed pool cabana, and all permits must be obtained prior to construction. Additional evergreen plantings will be required to screen the pool cabana from public view.
Support.
Okay. I have a motion in support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next item, moving right along, number 4. Good evening.
Hello, my name is Jamal Kujain. My address is 264 Eileen Drive. And I'm here to ask to allow me to install a garage in my backyard. There is an existing shed. It's it's really bad shape. So I want to take it out and replace it with a larger garage. And the reason of that, I have 4 children get stuck with, and me and my wife, so we have like 6 cars. And even yesterday it happened, like we hit each other on the driveway, so we have no space to park. And this is gonna be improvement for the property. It's gonna look nice. And I talked to all my neighbor. I have 7, all of them, they approve it and they sign it for me. I have written signature. If you want me, I can read each one at a time.
We can keep a copy for the
Yes,
record?
it's all
Okay.
yours.
Thank you.
I have the one cross street from me, 2 of them. The one in the back, the one right next to it. The one is gonna be like most affected, but she loves it. She has no problem with that. So total of 7 of them, they have no problem, no objection. So, and my house is small and have nowhere to go, so we just want to solve the problem with the parking. And so I would like to ask your approval, please.
So you have an existing
Shed.
shed,
Yes, it's like a 6 by 7, something like that.
and that's what you're going to remove and replace?
Yes,
I
I'm gonna
see.
get out, yes. And actually, it's only right now 4 foot from the property line.
Mm-hmm.
So the new one is gonna be 8 feet.
Okay.
So it's improvement.
And then we're talking about the size too.
Encroachment.
Okay. Because it exceeds 50% of the ground floor,
I have attached
just
it
slightly.
in a second. Yes.
200.
Appear,
I mean, if you want me to scale it down, I
Well-
could, but I would love to keep it. So because I have 6 cars.
Sure. Any questions from the board?
are you confident that that's where you would like to keep the location of it? It appears to be encroaching 8 feet into the 16
Yes, please,
foot
because I
side
just
setback.
would like to enjoy my backyard. So it does give me a little bit of room at my backyard. So
Can we
the
see
kids
where
are
that-
going to graduate soon, so we'll have party.
We see an aerial view of like how that affects the backyard. I mean, I can pull it up here.
Yeah, yeah. So
So you're saying that your place,
So the lady next door to me, Calvin and Amanda, she has no problem, and the guy lives on 177. Also, he signed it. He has no problem, and the guy on the other side, he has no problem. And 2 of my neighbors in the front, also, I have support letter from them.
So I'll just add, it's great that you have neighbor support. One thing that I always think about is, some people move, so those neighbors will leave. And then the problem is that we're encroaching. And listen, I've been on here long enough to know that if you do a little here, a little there, it adds up. And then suddenly, it's not Bloomfield Township anymore. I don't have a problem with the exceeding the 50% ground floor with the accessory structure being bigger, but I do have a problem, it's halfway into what is required by the setback. And I understand that you want to use your backyard, so if you move it all the way 8 feet, but can we compromise a little bit? Because I can just tell you, for me, it's going to be hard to approve 8 feet.
That's fine. But just keep in mind, please, I already have existing one. It's less than 5 feet. So I'm taking it out. I'm pushing it away from the property line. If I have to push it more toward
So the one that you have now,
Yeah,
the
it's
shed
5 feet.
now
5 feet.
encroaches 5 feet.
Yes, or even less. Yes.
Okay, but now you want to make it 8 feet, so you want to make it more of an encroachment.
No, it's going to be wide. I mean,
Less?
stay away from the property line.
It's 5.
Right now, it's only 5 feet from the property line.
I
So
see.
I'm improving.
I see what you're saying.
So I'm
Okay.
making it even
That's
better.
really close.
Yeah.
So right now he's
Okay,
at
gotcha.
he's at 11 feet.
Thanks for clearing that up. Yeah, now I understand.
So it's
okay.
it's actually better for the neighbors. They like the
Better
idea.
for the neighbor. Yeah, 5
Yes.
feet is very close.
Yes, and I made sure all the neighbors are happy with that.
Okay.
So he encroaches 11 feet right now on the existing structure does.
I'd like to make a comment as well. The square footage of this garage is only 702 square feet,
right?
not 1102.
He has an existing garage.
Yeah.
Oh, with the
He has an existing garage that we have to consider.
I mean, if we need to scale it down, I would, but I would love to keep it just at.
I don't
think
have a
the
concern
si-
with the size.
I don't think the size is the issue, but could you scooch it over so there's less of a...
Whatever you recommend. I mean, it just 16 feet is really is gonna kill my property. If you can give me a little bit.
I can appreciate that you want to make good use of your backyard, and that's
Yeah.
very reasonable.
Yeah, that's
what
all
do you think would be? Where would you place it if 8 feet was hard for some people to approve?
I mean,
What would you be happy with?
maybe 10 feet, or we want to bargain.
It was 6. Okay.
Yeah, we want to bargain. So right now I'm asking for 8 foot from the property line. I can make it 10 feet from the property line.
Okay.
Whatever to make everybody happy.
I appreciate your willingness to compromise.
That's what I'm here for.
Was that the public hearing? No, it wasn't. We didn't do that, did we?
Yeah, I did the public hearing. I think so.
We did not do the public hearing.
I did not. Thank you. Let me open it up to the public. Would anyone like to speak to this item? Okay, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board if there's any other questions.
Well, Madam Chair, I'll take this motion if that's okay.
Please.
Let's see here. So with regard to the permission request, at 264 Eileen Drive. I move that this appeal be for the accessory structure be approved as submitted. It's a permission request. Based on the information presented, the applicant did demonstrate compliance with section 42-7.6 standards because the use of the accessory structure, is appropriate to the neighborhood, as being able to park your cars in a garage is actually an improvement. So that's the permission request. I'm also going to do the dimensional variance, and for the dimensional variance, I move that it be approved, not as submitted, but have it state that encroaching 6 feet into the 16-foot westerly side yard setback. I have no issues with the proposed accessory space exceeding 50% of the ground floor area of the main building, yet the motion must include that it will be 6 feet into the westerly side yard setback. Based on this information presented, the applicant did demonstrate all standards for practical difficulty because compliance with the strict letter of the ordinance would be unduly burdensome due to the size of the lot, and that our applicant here would like to be able to use his backyard. There is no injustice to adjoining neighbors by reason of he has actually spoken with them, and they are in agreement, and he is done his very best in minimizing his encroachment into the side setback. This is unique in terms that the property has been demonstrated to be, it has size limitations, and that is not self-created. So if these motions are approved, application for all necessary permits must be made within 1 year, and all permits must be obtained prior to construction. And we will ask that a single-family affidavit must be filed with the township.
Support.
I have motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Your request is
Thank
granted.
you so much. So I'm allowed to be 12 feet from the property line, right? I mean,
10 feet.
10 feet. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good evening. Item number 5.
Hello,
Good evening.
my name is Stephen Bonamy from Creator Brick on behalf of the owners of 3565 Brookside Drive. Today we're seeking approval to install an in-ground spa that will be raised 2 feet above the grade with a fire and water feature that will have a maximum height of 4 feet. The property is very secluded, has a unique shape, and is heavily wooded. For these reasons, we feel the additional screening is not necessary. And I can answer any specific questions.
Any questions from the board? All right, well then I'll open the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to this item? I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board for any discussion or a motion.
I'll make a motion for 3565 Brookside Drive for the permission request. I'm going to move that it be approved as submitted. The applicant did demonstrate all the, based on the information presented, compliance with section 42-7.6 has been met because the accessory structure is going to be within the setbacks and will not hinder or discourage the use of adjacent property because of it being within the setback and being fully screened 12 months out of the year with evergreens. All permits should be made within 1 year, obtained prior to construction. And as I noted, there is sufficient screening, but that screening will have to be maintained so that the hot tub cannot be viewed by the public.
Support.
Do I have a motion support? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Request is granted. Thank you. All right, moving right along. Item number 6. Good evening.
Good evening. So my name is Benjamin Spada. I live at 43747 Woodward Avenue. And originally I had thought that I had to send in, just a permission request for this accessory structure. I'm looking to build a garage where there was an existing non-conforming structure that was only 2 feet away from the property line. It was an old in-law suite, I think, that was built in the 40s. It really had no use because it was in bad shape. And I bought the house a year and a half ago, and I need to replace that because I have vehicles that I need to store, and I have 2 teenagers that are going to be driving within 2 years, and I'm going to need to. I don't want my vehicles to be on my driveway. I'm on Woodward. I have a lot of public view, I guess, and so I had sent in a permission request, but then I was told I need to ask for a variance because of the total accessory use, which not really spelled out in the site standards of 42-5.0. In the paragraph, it just mentions an individual accessory structure. So I had submitted the appeal paperwork, but that's not included in this packet. I sent it.
Packet on their computers.
They have the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay. So I didn't see it online, so I wasn't sure. So anyways, I'm asking to be able to build this. It's going to be conforming now. I'm going to be 16 feet away from the property line instead of 2 feet. And the total square footage, I guess, for the combined accessory use, I guess my existing garage is called accessory, even though there's a room above it. And there's, it's an old 20 by 20 garage. So it's not really big enough to house even a modern vehicle. I can't put my lawn equipment in there. There's a lot. I need more space, pretty much.
How big is your lot?
A lot is 1 acre. Okay. And a lot of the homes in the Highlands have accessory structures or multiple accessory structures even as well.
Any other questions? Okay, then I'll open the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to this item? I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board.
I'll make a motion. With regard to the appeal at 43747 Woodward Avenue, I'm going to start with the permission request for the proposed detached garage. I'm going to move that it be approved as submitted. The applicant demonstrated compliance with section 42-7.6 standards because he's going to be enhancing the neighborhood by removing an older structure and replacing it with a garage, which will also help to store vehicles and keep them off of the driveway. With regard to the dimensional variance, I'm going to move that that also be approved as submitted. Compliance with the strict letter of the ordinance would be unduly burdensome because of the fact that there is plenty of space on this lot. In theory, he could knock down the house and build a bigger house and still have the structure that he's proposing to have in the back. There is no justice to the adjoining neighbors by reason of the fact that this is a common structure to have, and properties in this neighborhood have quite large lots. The unique circumstances of the property have been demonstrated given the fact that the home is existing and there is a replacement of an already existing shed in the back, and this is not self-created due to the reasons stated above. I will note that you should get your permits within 1 year and get them prior to construction. With regard to the screening of this, I mean, typically, are we going to require garages to be screened? Because I would say
to me that
there's sufficient screening around. Yeah, I'm not going to add that any additional screening will be required, and the only other thing will be to file a single family affidavit with the township, you know, saying that no one's living in the structure in the back.
Sure. Support.
I have a motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Your request is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Scott Chernesky. I'm the homeowner at 3472 Blossom Lane. Last year we finished our remodel in addition to our house. We had about 1,500 square feet, completely redid the exterior. This hopefully will be the last request of the board. We'd like to add 2 light posts in front of the house by the street, not into the right of way, just inside the property line, so more than 15 feet from the road. We have a circle driveway. We'd like 2 light posts, one on either side of that circle drive on the inside of it. And the construction will be limestone, exactly the same as the pillars on the house. We have, I think, 9 pillars on the house, 3 on the front porch, 2 on the attached garage, 2 on the detached garage, and 2 on the side entry. The construction will be identical, same limestone. I have some left over from the construction of the house. And the size will be in between height-wise of the front porch and the garages. So we feel it matches the house almost perfectly. The proportions we're asking for the stone pillars are well within, those on the house. That view there, upper left, The front porch pillars are more massive, have more width to them, 28 inches wide. The proposed structures will be 22 by 22, the same as the garages there on the left. And the lights that we're going to use, it's a matching set to the lights on the house. So each pillar on the house has a sconce version of this light. And the light posts will have the lamp post version of the light. Same brand, same line, identical to the front porch lamps. So we feel that's a very common structure to be used. It's going to provide some nice light around the driveway. It's all indirect lighting. It's a bell style light, so it'll shine toward the ground. Being on top of that pillar, it'll be very nice from a security standpoint for the driveway. And I think that's it. Any questions?
I would just say, so we have we have a letter from a neighbor that included some photographs of the home from across the street. And it appears from the photos that I have in my packet here, these are taken at night, that the house is already quite illuminated. There's even a picture, it looks like during the winter, and it seems like there's already a lot of light there.
Around the house, yes, but not by the road and not the circle driveway. When I look out my front door, I can't see the street, and it's really not a very deep front yard at all.
Right, it's not a deep front yard, which is why when I see all the lights at the house, I think, okay, the driveway's not that far off of the home, because to your point, the front is not very deep.
I can't see my driveway when I look out the front door with the front porch lights on. And all the light on the house is all indirect lighting. You can't see any light source from the street when all those lights are on. I've gotten a lot of compliments actually for the lighting on the house.
It appears to be a lovely home. I think it's very well done. The only problem I have is the amount of lighting and the degree of brightness from other people's yards. That's the only concern I have.
And I guess going along with that is you've got the light fixture on the top. And lately we have moved away from approving that type of thing and are requiring the light fixture on the front of the structure that's down shielded. So you can see where your driveway is, but it doesn't put out any light to anybody else. So
I don't think that'll match aesthetically to the house.
Well, that's
what's getting approved.
But if it gets approved, we just are not going with the big lights on the top because it does impact the neighbors.
Okay. There are quite a few in our neighborhood with lights on top.
And
it's a very common thing to see.
It's fine, but are you planning on, is your driveway gravel?
It's going to be concrete. We're going to start this month.
Okay. Because, I'm like,
we wanted to do this before we did the concrete.
There was
for the
all
driveway.
the construction kind of tore everything up.
Yep. So I do want to have light on the circle driveway in some fashion. I will have to do that at some point. Whether it's this or landscape lighting, I will need to add some light on the driveway.
Yeah, landscape lighting might be the better option. I don't know.
What was that? What
I
light?
said he could do landscape lighting, which.
Any other questions?
What about the height of the piers?
That includes the light fixture on the top.
Oh, okay. So if we move that, then it won't
Then
be
it
5
would
foot.
be 42 inches, correct?
Okay.
I think the proposed height was 42 inches, 3.5 feet high. Yep. Which is less than the highest pillar on the house.
Absolutely.
Do you have any suggestions?
Public says first, and maybe they.
I'm going to open the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to this item? And I'll close the public hearing. Bring it back to the board to see if you have any other questions or discussion or a motion.
The only concern I have is that it is a circular driveway, so there's like 2 driveways, and then we do shy away from illuminated piers with the light on top. So I just have a problem with that. Is there anything that you can adjust?
We were originally considering 2 on each side of the circle driveway, if that helps. We were considering 4, but that just seemed too much. So we said 2 on the inside would be enough. I really don't think changing the design of what we propose would work aesthetically. So if you won't approve it, then we won't build any light posts. We'll do some kind of landscape lighting. But this would obviously be our preferred option. It's going to aesthetically match the house very nicely, we think.
And again, I mean, your home is beautiful. It's just, that's a concern I have.
Do we make it too nice looking?
No, I didn't mean like
You
that at
sure
all.
you can't come up with some option that aesthetically goes with your other lights, but is in the front on the post? I bet there's
Now with the
some
masonry,
option.
now with a masonry built post or view, I just don't see it. Is it the height that's an issue? Or is it,
No,
do you want it less than
it's the
some?
way it illuminates,
I mean, it's all indirect lighting. It shines directly to the ground.
but it illuminates differently sitting on the top of a structure versus the one that just goes on the front,
Yeah.
where you just can see the ground there.
If we put it on the front so it's visible from the street, it doesn't help the circle driveway illumination at all because it's
Well,
on
marks
the
it marks
inside.
where your driveway is.
It would be
True.
illuminated on the driveway side.
Yeah.
It illuminates the grass. It doesn't illuminate. It illuminates forward, not to the sides. So where we have them placed on the circle drive, it's going to shine to the north and the south, which that illuminates the ground itself, the driveway itself. So that's really the benefit of lighting it up. If we were to have to place a sconce on the front, because we did think about putting the same sconce version that's on the house pillars on this post, it's only going to be in one direction. Whereas if it's on the top, it's going to go around all 360. All of the sconces on the house, when they are on at night, you can't see underneath that bell at all. It's the indirect lighting has worked out very nicely.
What if the lamp were on the drive side of the pillar? So it's focusing
functionally-
the light on the drive itself.
Functionally, that would work. I think aesthetically, from the outside in the day, it just, to me, it wouldn't make sense. I don't think we'd do it if that's what you asked.
Scotch is a.
Yeah, I guess, I view it, once you put the pillar there and you have a light on it, the point is just for you to know where to turn into your driveway. I mean, you would know, here's my pillar and my driveway is right next to it here. So I don't see where you have to have illumination all the way around it. You get it,
I personally would feel more comfortable looking out the front door at night if I could see somewhat of the road and see the driveway, see what's out there. I can't see past, the start of the circle drive. So
it's pretty typical. I can't see anything in my yard anymore.
Do you have headlights in cars? And
I don't know.
Headlights.
did you do the public hearing? I don't remember.
I did.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So
I know. Well, any other discussion, questions? Motion?
seems to be a tough one.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really don't. I mean, what a lot of times people want illuminated things. We say no illumination because it is a disturbance, and we have a neighbor saying the light already disturbs me, and now they want to add more light. So, there's a reason why we have an ordinance for it, and why you have to come and ask for permission to have it.
And usually when we have these types of piers and we like the indirect lighting shooting down, it's because of that. And so that people could mark their driveway, not necessarily to illuminate the whole driveway. But
and honestly, in a lot of these situations too, the home is set way back, and it's a longer driveway, and it's
Which is
so
why they
far
want the
removed that they
illumination.
aren't getting any light out there.
So you're recommending that we do landscape lighting instead
Well,
as an
I don't think we're
alternative?
telling you what
Or
to do.
That would be your option. But
I'm
we're
only
not really-
making, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that would be your option, but we're not really sensing along the line of approving illuminated piers.
Okay.
Yes. In regard to the appeal at 3472 Blossom Lane for the lighted piers, accessory structures, I move the request be denied as submitted based on the information presented. Due to the fact that the lighted illuminated piers just compound the current situation that exists where we have a high amount of illumination on the home, and also due to the fact that we see no clear need for illuminated piers based on the distance of the piers from the home and the shortness of the distance from the road to the home, we feel that more than sufficient light is available.
Should we add anything about the standards at all?
Yeah.
You did the permission request, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
permission request, yep.
Yeah.
So we just,
could vote on that separately.
okay, all right. Yeah, because I figured we'd just go ahead and deal with the
I agree.
permission
I
request.
agree.
Okay. Okay,
Right, because then we don't need a dimensional variance.
right. Okay, so I would add that in our opinions, this does not comply with section 42-7.6 standards for the reasons stated.
Second. Support, I should say.
Okay, I have a motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
You want to do a roll call or?
Roll call?
Okay.
Okay, Faki? Yes. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Rosati?
Yes.
Giagrande?
Yes.
Gentlemen?
Yes.
Barnett?
No.
Okay, so motion carries 6-1.
Thank you.
Request is tonight. All right, next item, number 8.
No.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. Jim Snyder, 6301 Sheringham Road. I'm the homeowner. We moved into this great neighborhood about 1.5 years ago. We're seeking approval to put in a hot tub. The prior owners removed a hot tub from this home. It's more than 60 feet to any of our property lines, and it's well concealed with trees and shrubs and whatnot. This will be a brand new locked hot tub, and it's also concealed on 3 sides of the house by the home, tucked right in there.
Yeah, it's actually on the patio, right? It'll be on the patio tucked in that spot.
Yep, it'll be in the patio tucked in that spot. We have a licensed contractor moving the electrical wire, which I'd like to do regardless if this is approved or not, and we have permits for that work too.
Who did your fabulous drawing?
What's that?
Yeah, I was just looking at your drawing.
Oh, I did that. That was like the third try.
I like it.
Very good.
Very nice. And it looks like you're very happy where you're at, so.
We love it.
Any questions? Pretty simple. Let me open up the public hearing then. If anyone like to speak to this item? Okay, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board.
I'll make a motion. With regard to the appeal at 6301 Sheringham Road, with regard to the permission request, I'm going to move that it be approved as submitted. Based on the information presented, the applicant demonstrated compliance with 42-7.6 standards. Because the placement of the hot tub will be within the setbacks, it will be fully screened 12 months out of the year, so it will not disturb any neighbors. And I will just add to that motion that you should get your permits prior to construction within 1 year of this approval. And if something happens to the screening you have now, you'll have to replace it because it will have to be screened 12 months out of the year.
Understood.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Congratulations, your request is granted.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
And we'll be able to use that.
All right, next item, number 9. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Robert Reno, 6491 Hills Drive. We're seeking approval for an invisible fence on our property. Our property currently, 3 of the 4 sides are viewed as not having a neighbor, so there's only a 5-foot dimensional variance. So because we do not have a backyard, we're not able to put the invisible fence in.
Sure. The red there, is that the outline of where you're going to put the fence?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
And we also have approval from the president of our homeowners association, Jeanette Phillips, and I have that in writing too.
You're one of those people that are lucky to have 3 front yards.
Yes.
Yeah, that to the record.
Been there myself.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Makes it very interesting.
You have a picture of the puppy?
We do. Well, I believe my wife does on her phone, so we actually rescued him.
What kind? No.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, that's
Yes.
So what color is she? Oh, that's probably really interesting. Yeah.
Oh, pretty. Should have brought her.
My wife should be speaking instead of me.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Okay, we'll now open the public hearing. Does anybody like to speak to this item? I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board.
okay. I can make a motion. For 6491 Hills Drive, I'm going to start with the permission request and move that it be approved as submitted. The applicant demonstrated compliance with section 42-7.6 standards because the accessory structure is compatible with adjoining neighbors based on the fact that this is a very common accessory structure that people need to keep their dogs enclosed. With regard to the dimensional variance, I'm going to move that also be approved as submitted. The applicant demonstrated that the practical difficulty by following the ordinance, that there is practical difficulty by following the ordinance because the compliance is unduly burdensome because of the fact that there are multiple frontages on this lot. There is no adjustments to the adjoining neighbors by reason of the fact that there is plenty of space here and everything is within the setbacks. The unique circumstances of the property have been demonstrated, again, given the lot in the township being on multiple frontages, and this is not self-created due to the reasons stated. The permit should be made within 1 year and obtained prior to construction.
Support.
Thank you. Wait, I think you have to vote. I'm sorry.
You're just so happy tonight. All right. I have a motion in support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Your request is granted. Now you can say thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You're welcome. Enjoy your day.
Thanks.
Thank you as well.
That dog's going to need to run.
All right, next item, number 10. Good evening.
Good evening. Jason Bryan from JCB Design and Build, 325 North Avenue, Mount Clemens, on behalf of the Alcamanos at 6100 Old Orchard Drive. We are seeking approval for a 10 by 10 pool cabana, 12 foot high, and an 8 by 8 raised spa. The spa is raised 1 foot. Both are within the setbacks and fully screened with evergreens all around the entirety of the property.
Any questions? Then I'll open the public hearing. Anyone like to speak to this item? I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. Seems pretty.
I'll make a motion.
Please.
In regard to the appeal at 6100 Old Orchard Drive for the accessory structures, I move the request be approved as submitted. Based on the information presented, the applicant did demonstrate compliance with section 42-7.6 standards because the use of the structure is appropriate to the neighborhood given the popularity of these structures, and also the location of the accessory structure will not hinder or discourage the adjacent use of property due to the fact that it will be thoroughly screened throughout the entire year.
Support.
And I should add, if approved, the motion must include application for all necessary permits, must be made within 1 year, and all permits must be obtained prior to construction. Sorry.
Support. Okay, I have a motion in support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Your request is granted.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening. All right, item number 7. Good evening.
Should I go ahead? Thank you for your time tonight. My name's Ben Heller, and I'm presenting on behalf of Kevin and Michelle Vogler. Can you pull the site plan up, which you've pulled up? So tonight we are, essentially the existing house is pre-existing non-conforming, and it's just a little sliver of a pre-existing non-conforming. You can notice on the east side of the property, apparently the original house was built just slightly off parallel to the property line. So what's happening is as you approach, the street is on the top of the page, and as you approach the front corner of the property, it just clips the corner just a couple feet. And so as we add parallel to the foundation, as we add forward, that slice of pie goes from a couple inches to, I think actually the variance says 2 feet, but it's actually just 1.5 feet.
I'd like to go a little bit over.
And so what it really does is it's that we're on the Forest Lake Golf Course. It skews the house a little bit this way. So the neighbor that we're actually encroaching on, his view on the golf course side is actually improved ever so slightly because the house is just tipped away from him. And so we're dealing with the pre-existing non-conformity, the practical difficulty in this situation. We also went to the neighbor on the east and the neighbor on the west and reviewed the drawings with them and got full support from them. In fact, I think they sent letters in. We have a rendering we could pass that they could take a look at if they want to see.
It's in their packet.
It's in their packet,
Yeah,
okay.
thank you.
And so we got support from the neighbor, and the golf course also gave us support. And so, and then the other the house, you can tell, is practically like a new construction, even though we're saving the old part of the house. And that's important because we're saving in the back of the house. There's 2 substantial heritage trees that we're able to save by not tearing up the earth and being able to work with the foundation. So with that, I turn it over to any questions you might have regarding that.
We've had a really good applicants tonight, talking to adjacent neighbors. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. Yeah,
It's
and the
very-
golf course also.
And yes, you
Yeah.
even went above and beyond, so we're really appreciative of that. If there's no questions, I'll open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to this item? I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for either questions or a motion.
I'll make a motion. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion. In regard to the appeal at 2904 West Hickory Grove Road for the dimensional variance, setback variance, I move the variance be approved as requested. Based on the information presented, the applicant did demonstrate all of the standards for practical difficulty because compliance with the strict letter of ordinance would be unduly burdensome because of the existing structure. There is no injustice to adjoining neighbors by reason of we've heard from them and they're okay with it, including the golf course. Unique circumstances with the property have been demonstrated given the existing structure and the way it was built. And this is not self-created also due to the existing structure and the way it was built. Application for all necessary permits must be made within 1 year, and all permits must be obtained prior to construction.
Support.
I have a motion in support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, your request is granted.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening. Have a good evening. All right. All right, item number 12. Oh, yes, please, step to the podium. Name and
Ready to
address.
go?
Yes,
All right.
please.
Thank you. My name is Dennis Cowan. I'm with the law firm Plunkett Cooney, and I am representing Luke and Dawn Simona, who are right here, who are residents of the township at another location, and not planning on building this beautiful new home at 610 Ridge Road. With us also is our whole team, so if there's any questions that I can't answer, because I'm just the attorney, I'm not the one doing all the construction and engineering, but I have Adam Marciel, who's our landscape designer, and we're going to tag team. He's going to walk through the site plan real quick and the actual variances that we're requesting. And also Tian Sujak, who's our engineer, is here. And also Lou DeRosier, who's our architect of record. And Tom Schaffauer, builder's on the way, unfortunately. He was at the Planning Commission in West Bloomfield. He was on the first item. You're already on item 12, so I won't say any more than that, but thank you for moving this along. So we did engage our neighbors. We sent 45 letters out using the township's list of those who needed to receive notice of this hearing. And we met last week with 10 neighbors and HOA members. And with Adam in the room we had, we were able to walk through this entire presentation with them and all the site plans and the pictures and the drawings and the renderings. So that was very helpful. And that was a very positive dialogue. There was a lot of items we talked about, including the placing of the screening trees, the accessory buildings, and obviously neighbors are concerned about construction-related issues. And although it's not before you tonight, we also discussed that fully in the timeline and the different things that would be occurring during construction. So I think overall, I don't want to speak for anybody. I thought it was a positive dialogue, and there was some support from members at that meeting. We also engaged and talked to Randy Miller, who is the owner of a home on the northern boundary of the property. Was able to both talk to him and send some emails because he was unable to make the meeting. And finally, we received an email from John Breza, who lives at 621, which is right across the street. He was not coming tonight, but he wanted to tell us that he's not objecting and is 100% supportive. We are, however, going to meet with him. He expressed a request about the stormwater running off the driveway, and we're going to work out an appropriate plan with him. So we were very encouraged by the meetings we had with our neighbors. This site has been going through the process here in the township, and we do have a building permit for the home as well as a tree permit. The site is just under 2¼ acres. It's a large site. However, the lot coverage of the home and the accessory buildings is only 17% of the entire lot size. This is also an irregular shaped lot. And also a very important point is that there's limited access for this property to Ridge Road. Ridge Road dead ends, as you can see, south of the property, and actually that curl driveway, that's not a public road, that's the driveway into the home across the street. So as a matter of fact, I mistakenly went through there thinking it was the turnaround. There is no turnaround, it just dead ends. And really the only place that a driveway can go is at that southwestern corner, and that I think drove the placement of the house and the placement of all the facilities that we're going to talk about today. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Adam and let him walk you through the site plan.
So we're requesting permission to build a sports court in the rear yard on the site plan.
Let's see. It's weird. Resume slideshow. Zeros.
Okay.
Just use those zeros.
Gotcha. So we have a sports court located. We have a sports court located in the rear yard, screened from view by the neighbor. We also have a pool and cabana. The cabana is attached to the house in this area. Again, screened from view from the neighbor on this side. The pool has a waterfall and a retaining wall, which we're requesting a variance for. The retaining wall separates the upper and lower levels. It goes from 12 foot high and down to 4 foot high into the grade. There's a 9 foot, essentially a 7 foot waterfall into a trough. That is all screened from neighbors on this side with a double row of green giant arborvitaes. And also shown on this plan is that although this retaining wall being 12 foot tall, this is about 5 feet below grade. There's a berm that then runs along here to address water and drainage. So essentially 7 foot of this retaining wall is visible, and then we have a 10 to 12 foot evergreen hedge to screen the neighbor's view. So everything is screened, everything is within the setbacks, and the only variance we're requesting is for the ground-mounted mechanicals, which are outside the pool cabana, 2 air conditioners. And I'll show the detail of this retaining wall. So the retaining wall separates the upper and lower levels. This is the main floor of the house. There's a 12-foot retaining wall here. This is the waterfall. This is about 7 foot in height with about a 2-foot trough where the water collects. You can kind of see the grade builds back in. This is all, again, screened from sight from the neighbors, both with the grade existing and then a 10 to 12 foot evergreen screen.
Can I ask you on the, okay, we're looking at this view. You look at this view, the little part that goes toward the windows, that's just a straight 12 feet then. 12 feet solid.
Yeah, right with the stairway.
Oh,
This is 12 feet at
okay,
the,
so it's the full 12 feet there.
yep, 12 feet. And the grade, you can kind of see this grade line as it goes up. So you can see in this view here, this is the 12-foot stairway. This is the waterfall, and it's kind of climbing as the grade climbs up.
Did you discuss the landscape wall that's encroaching 8 feet into the 16-foot setback?
Yeah.
The determination was made that, that's why we removed it from the PowerPoint, that that's actually a 4-foot retaining wall. So because it's retaining and it is 8 feet from the lot line, that's no longer a consideration this evening.
Okay,
Thank you.
So it's just the height exceeding the 4 feet? Correct. Okay.
Is the sports court within the setbacks?
It's inside this in the 60-foot.
Okay.
So what is it, Andrea? Sorry.
So we originally noticed it for a landscape wall.
Okay.
It's actually a retaining wall. That wall is retaining. If a retaining wall is 8 feet from a lot line and no more than 4 feet, it's permitted.
Okay.
In this instance, it meets that criteria. Therefore, it does not need any consideration from the zoning board.
So we're taking the second item off.
Correct.
Thank you.
So are you all set? No. Okay. So with respect to the 2 variances that we do have, those requests, you can't see it. Even the pictures don't do justice to it. But when you walk the site, and I have, and all the team members have, there's a drop off. Or I mean, there's some topography, significant topography behind the house. So that's why the pool is built up and comes out on the first level, or the second level, is because we're going to take advantage and use that topography. So then that creates the opportunity for the waterfall. And then of course we need the retaining wall to keep everything together. So it's really a safety and topography issue there. I would also point out that with respect to the variances, that there won't be any injustice to any of the surrounding neighbors because we will have all of this screened. This is not self-created. We're asking you for permission tonight. And we do have, I think, significant unique circumstances to the property that I mentioned. With respect to the permission requests, we comply with your ordinance 42.7-6 with respect to setbacks, height, no lighting at the sports court. This is all seasonal use. And so I think that we are well within those parameters, and we would respectfully request your approval of the 4 permission requests and the 2 variances.
Hey, Dennis, do you have a 3D of the sports court? Did you do one of that?
We don't have a 3D of the sports.
Okay. I have to say, this is the largest one that I think we've ever had before us. How did you come up with the 59 by 89? That's much larger than the sports courts that usually come before us. I'm curious at what the reasoning is for that.
Well, it's a multi-sport court. I mean, it's just not basketball, pickleball.
I'm just saying.
The neighbor who...
Most of them, yeah.
Well, I can say that the neighbor directly adjacent to that was specifically asked by his neighbors, do you have any problem with the sports court being there? And he said, absolutely not. So,
And it is within the setbacks.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
It's just a
within the
permission.
setbacks.
But I just was curious
Yeah.
because it is so much larger than what we
Yeah.
see. I just
And
wondered what the reasoning was.
Yeah, and it will be screened off from the neighbor to the west.
Yeah, so
that you can see. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see the retaining wall that we were discussing is right here. Then the screening of the 10 to 12 foot arborvitae is going to go from where the cabana is located, all the way down and around the sport court.
And the black mesh fence, right?
With the black mesh fence inside of the evergreens.
This will be the biggest one.
I mean, the good thing is this is a family that wants to exercise. So they're all going to get out there, and I think it's not only that, but probably
Well,
a
they
function.
have plenty of room. They can all be out there at the
Well,
same
well,
time.
we've got 2.25 acres, so we could do a lot of things out there.
Okay.
So this is the plan, green giant arborvitae screening, so 10 to 12 foot at minimum that'll surround the sport court and the northerly property line where the pool and retaining wall that we're requesting the variance for are located. So it'll be there's a double row on the northern side blocking that off, and then just a single row of arborvitae screening both the sport court fence and the sport court.
No more questions? I'll open the public hearing. Does anybody want to speak to this item? Please. Oh. Good evening. State your name and address, please.
Al Pringle, 3660 Forest Hill Road. I didn't bring a lawyer with me, but what I'm concerned about is the amount of runoff we're going to get from the sports court. I live downstream, which it's across on Forest Hill, and there's a pond there, a retention pond. And we're already at the max for that retention pond when it rains. The sports court is taking up probably about 6,000 square feet. And that, I don't see a plan for the drain for that other than just letting it run off quickly. And that's going to essentially flood my backyard. And they're concentrating a lot of the water in the back portion of the lot there, which makes matters worse.
Your address again?
So I guess I'm opposed to the sports court because of the drainage and the excess.
What was your address again, sir?
Your address,
sir?
Pardon?
Address?
3660 Forest Hill Road.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to speak as well?
It's down. Retention ponds. Show her because it's probably trying to. Right in here. Oh, I see.
Hi.
Good evening.
Lavinia Loria. I live at 3721 Thornbriar in the same neighborhood. We currently have a purchase agreement with the current owners living at 3650 Larkwood. And we did not get a chance to go to the meeting you guys all had last week. But I am looking at the notice of public hearing, and there's a fire pit mentioned here. I don't know if we just didn't get to it yet or not, but I have more of a question regarding that because the renderings versus the plans show them in two different locations. So I guess I'm trying to understand where is the gas fire pit going to be. So if you look here, it's closest to the waterfall side, whereas on the drawing, it shows closest to the other side of the lot. So
No, they'll respond after
that's one
you.
question. And then the other question I had was regarding the arborvitaes, I guess, right? Because the pool, I understand, is going to be fenced, being an enclosed property, right? There's going to be 2 rows of arborvitaes, and who's going to maintain the arborvitaes that are going to be closest to us, right? So once you have a fence, usually what's on the other side of the fence is kind of out of sight, out of mind. So that would be my question more. I'm not opposing anything necessarily here that is in front of this zoning board. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to this item? Okay, so I will close the public hearing, and if you'd like to address any of those concerns or questions.
Absolutely. First of all, I want to give address myself and Mr. Sujak address the water discharge and runoff. No, great care. I want to emphasize this, and it's on the plans. You can see it. Great care was taken to plan for that. There is on that west side, there is a catch basin. There's other, throughout the entire facility, or entire property. First of all, let me go big picture. The topography goes towards that retention pond in the back. That's why the pond is back there. That will hold 35,000 gallons of water. Yeah. So this right here, the retention pond. So everything, I think, Tiano, it kind of flows this way. So I know there's a catch basin here that will divert the water towards the retention pond. This was something that was engineered, that was submitted with the plans, and that was approved by the township. This was not something that was taken lightly. We were aware that when there's some displacement, you're going to have to take care of it, and they have. And I'm going to let Tian address it because he's the engineer.
TNC Sujak Engineering. I do quite a bit of work in the township. Fairly familiar with the engineering practices that go on here. So, you have to hold it?
Okay. No, you're going to press the button right there. At least that's what she told me.
Okay. So, this is an older lot. It's not ideal for drainage. Ideally, the entire lot would go to the front end of the road. That's how we try to design them so it doesn't impact any of the neighbors. This lot existing from about here sheds everything to the back and then down this way along with this neighbor. Some of these neighbors shed their water onto the property existing. Standard practices, we can't impede the flow from any of those off-site neighbors from draining onto our property. And we're not supposed to, if we can't get the water to the road, what we try to do is reduce the flow of water so it's not any greater than the existing conditions. So I designed this so all of this flow would go to I call it a bioretention pond in the back of the property to collect the water, to slow it down before it discharges off. And I kind of kept the calculations simple. What I did is any of the impervious area that's going to be proposed, I took 3.3 inches of stormwater, which is equivalent to what the downfall you would get from a 10-year storm event. And I took all that and I put it in the pond. But now keep in mind, I'm running all the green belt through the pond as well. So in a normal 1-year, 2-year minor storm events, the water's still going to be collected by the pond and not discharged like it is now. So we're effectively slowing all the water down and reducing the rate from what's there currently.
I'm
So-
just sort of laughing because it seems like now we have
Right.
100-year rains all the
Yeah.
time. Okay, so
Yeah, we do.
how would your system work if we have 100-year rains?
If you had
Still
100,
going to function?
it would still function. It would still slow the water down. Is it going to handle a 100-year downfall, meaning stop it? No, it's not going to stop it. I do municipal work as well. So, the existing sewer system in place, a lot of them are designed for 10 or 25-year storm events.
Right.
So they overflow. I mean, it's just, if we designed every site for 100-year, the next thing people are going to say, what about 200-year?
Well,
Or,
they just
we
need
do
to
what we can.
rename them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Now it's every other year.
They're not
So
valid anymore.
the long story short, what we're proposing is going to reduce what's currently flowing off the site. To be less impactful. And during minor events, it's going to reduce it even further. I tend to get too technical, so I'm trying to cut that out right now. If you have any
Well, even
detail.
now we understand what you're saying.
I'm working at it.
we know we understand the whole concept.
Yeah, and I've done quite a few sites in the city. I mean, I do them with similar situations where stormwater is currently going off-site.
The township's not going to let this go through.
Oh, we've only been permitted
That's
for
what
it.
I'm saying.
Yes.
They're not going to let it
They
go
reviewed
through
it.
unless the engineering department says, yep,
Yeah.
this will do what it needs to
Yeah,
do.
I mean, to be honest, they called me up with a couple questions, and they were just clarifications on the calcs, and they were like, oh, good to go. So,
So I hope that helps you understand it. No, but that should give you good explanation of how,
There is a plan for the water runoff, and
and you can always talk to them after the.
yeah, I'll be happy to.
And I completely understand the concern, for sure. I know there was a couple other questions
Yeah,
about.
Yeah, I think Adam's gonna address those issues, but this township standard, I believe, as I read in the ordinance, is for a 10-year storm event. So that's what this was built to, which was a township standard.
So in regards to the fence and the screening, we purposely held the fence 8 feet inside the property line so that these neighbors would not see that fence, and then put that double row of arborvitaes all the way down there. We would, just like the rest of the property, it's going to be kept up no matter if the fence was on the other side of those arbors or on the inside. The idea is that we're trying to hide that fence just as a courtesy to the neighbors, and that will all be maintained in the same way that the rest of the property would be maintained. Yeah, and we could go, much closer to the property line. We thought it, like I said, as a gesture to the neighbors to hold that property or hold that fence 8 feet inside the property line. The fire pit is located within the patio, and that's in this area right here next to the sport court. There is a rendering that you see with the fire pit there. That was just a rendering, but the one on our plan is this one that's located just next to the cabana, next to the sports court. And it's sunken below grade, actually a couple steps down, so you won't see that.
Any questions from the board?
And of course, if we were to approve it, we would be approving it with the landscape plan that would then require you to continue to maintain it.
Right.
Okay, I can make a motion here. So, but I actually just want to clarify one thing before I start, Patty. So for the dimensional variance, it's for the 10-foot mesh sports fence, and then the 4-foot retaining wall exceeding 4 feet.
Not anymore.
Not
anymore.
So then just the ground mechanical.
Exceeding 4 feet.
No, it's still the wall for the pool.
Right.
That's still a retaining wall.
Which is, and that's exceeding 4 feet, and
Correct,
right,
yes.
and then so there's 3, and then the ground mechanical not next to the pool building. Okay, so I'm going to start with the permission request first for the sports court, the landscape wall, the waterfall, the pool house, and the gas fire pit. I'm going to move that this is for 610 Ridge Road. I'm going to move that those be approved as submitted. Based on the information presented, the applicant demonstrated compliance with section 42-7.6 standards because all of the proposed permission requests are going to be within the setbacks. They are not going to disturb adjacent neighbors. They're going to be screened 12 months out of the year with evergreen screening. And that adds to being harmonious with the neighborhood and not disturbing any of the neighbors. For the dimensional variance, with regard to the 10-foot mesh sports fence, that I'm going to move be approved as submitted. The applicant demonstrated all standards for practical difficulty because compliance with the strict letter of the ordinance would be unduly burdensome because of the size of the lot of the home and the fact that this sports court will be concealed from neighbors. There is no injustice to the adjoining neighbors by reason of the fact is, as I mentioned, it will be screened 12 months out of the year and is within the setbacks. Unique circumstances with the property have been demonstrated given the size of the property, and this is not demonstrated due to the reasons stated. For the retaining wall exceeding 4 feet, I'm going to move that also be approved as requested. Based on the information presented, the applicant demonstrated all standards for practical difficulty because the compliance with the strict letter of the ordinance would be unduly burdensome because of the change in the grade there and the topography that's in the on that lot. There is no injustice to the adjoining neighbor by reason of the fact that this wall is going to be screened and will not be cannot be viewed by the public. With regard to, again, the unique circumstances of the property, the topography and the grade change necessitate this retaining wall. This is not self-created due to the reasons that I just stated. And finally, the pool equipment not being adjacent to the residential building, I'm going to move that also be approved as requested. Based on the information presented, the applicant demonstrated all standards for practical difficulty because compliance with the strict letter of the ordinance is unduly burdensome given the fact that they're going to have a cabana and some other amenities out there. So it makes sense to have the pool equipment near there and not near the residential building. With regard to the injustice of the adjoining neighbors, this is within the setbacks and is going to be screened, so there is no injustice. Unique circumstances of the property are demonstrated, again, given the size of the lot and the proposed plan, and this is not self-created due to the reasons stated. I will have to add that all permits should be made within 1 year, obtained prior to construction. the evergreen landscape plan that you propose will have to be maintained while those accessory structures are in the backyard so that they can never be viewed by the public. And you will have to file a single family affidavit with the township for the pool house.
Discussion? Did we address, I may have missed it, the ground mounted mechanical equipment not immediately adjacent? Yes.
She did.
She did that? Okay. Because I heard the pool equipment, but not the other. Okay.
Do you want to just say including that?
Yeah, and in the event I did not include it, I will include it in my motion.
I heard it's probably ground equipment.
I think it was.
It's getting late.
I think she was.
Is there a second? Yes.
Okay, so I have a motion in support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, your request
Thank you
is
very
granted.
much. And we did cover everything, right?
Yes,
I
we did.
think we did. I was trying to follow too. So
Yeah,
there's a lot there. So
Yeah.
we thank you so much, and we are deeply appreciative. We're looking forward to building a beautiful
You
home.
did a great job laying that house out because that is a weird shaped parcel.
Yeah.
And to do it with and get it within, so you didn't come in for a bunch of setback variances
Right.
was great.
Very nice.
Enjoy. All right, so we have.
Enough people. Do we have no
I don't-
people for the rest of? We have like two more. Where is everybody?
Uh, Item number 13, is the applicant here?
I've encouraged
Who said yep?
them to
Oh,
address the
okay.
question.
Nice, okay. You've been so patient.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Frank Gerlinger representing the developer of Starbucks at 42880 Woodward. Requesting a variance on the distance from the setback for our ground sign. What we've proposed is consistent with what's been granted on several properties adjacent to us to the south. We have a large elevation change from Woodward from the north end to the south end, which make it nearly impossible if you're northbound on Woodward with the grades that we've identified to see any type of signage. If we strictly followed the ordinance, we would basically have a ground sign that would be in the middle of the drive lane of the Starbucks. And we're simply requesting what similar properties have been granted south of us, where they deal with, conflict with the ordinance and sort of existing topography. So we're kind of hopeful we can get a sign out there that can promote the businesses and the success of that new development.
Did you have a landscape plan for the signage?
I understand we don't, but I think it was on the engineering plan potentially. What was requested was that we have a low planting around the perimeter. Andrea had addressed that with me. Originally, we had shown a semicircle behind it. I didn't really realize that we were dealing with lower plants. So we are doing a full circle to cover the 12-inch base, which was recommended dark, and then we are in compliance with all the standard sign square footages. So the landscape will absolutely have a perimeter ring that covers the base in its entirety, and then, like I say, we're basically consistent with what makes sense to the topography and what's granted to the south of us. So we're just looking forward to getting those guys up and running and exposed.
So in reviewing the design review board minutes, there were certain things that they forwarded subject to, and it was the making the sign base taller.
Yes.
Overall sign not to exceed 32 square feet.
Yes.
A white background for the Starbucks
Yes.
panel, and landscape around the base that we just
Yes.
discussed. And
We,
I assume those
yep.
are all acceptable to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh, I guess there's no public.
Well,
But I will
I have
open
the unlucky 13th spot. I don't know if that's going to go good or bad, whatever. We waited till the end. I'm being punished for bad paperwork, and I understand that. I deserve it. Thank you, Andrea, for helping me here. But
I will open the public hearing and I will close the public hearing just to say I did that. And bring it back to the board for a motion or any other questions.
I can make a motion for the proposal at 42880 Woodward Avenue for the dimensional variance. I'll move that it be approved as submitted. Based on the information presented, the applicant demonstrated all the standards for practical difficulty because compliance with the strict letter of the ordinance would be unduly burdensome because of the location on Woodward and the high-speed traffic that's there and the need for additional signage to let people know what's at that location. There is no injustice to the adjoining neighbors by reason of the fact that this is a commercial area and there are similar signs by corporate neighbors. The unique circumstances of the property have been demonstrated, again, given its location on Woodward Avenue. This is not self-created due to the reasons stated, and you should obtain all of the permits within 1 year and get them prior to installation. And you will have to have landscaping at the base of the ground sign, and I'll just include all the recommendations from the design and review board will be incorporated in my motion and should be followed.
Support.
I have a motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Your request is granted.
thank you.
Yeah, have a good evening.
You
Thanks
guys
for
have a
being
good
so
evening, too.
patient.
You guys run a good meeting here. That was impressive.
Thank you.
Thank
you. We have item number 14.
It appears that the applicant is not here. This is a request for, if you would like, I can give an overview. It's up to the. So the applicant, this is for the memory care facility that was approved at 201 Updike. Once construction, they're actually getting close to finalizing their construction. They had to relocate some of their ground mounted mechanical units. You can see circled there on the left towards Updike, they're seeking approval for existing ground mounted mechanicals that are located in the front yard. And I can show you some photographs of those, as well as there is an interior fence that really will not be seen unless you are inside the site. There's no visibility to Updike. That is a 5-foot fence. This was originally approved as a 4-foot fence as part of the site plan, so it's always been there. They went ahead and they constructed and put in a 5-foot fence. The indication that I got from the applicant was they felt that that was a safer, because that is the place where the residents will be going.
Screens so they can't get
out. And so to show you, there are some spots that I do believe probably need to be augmented with some plantings. If you look at the photographs, this is the ground mounted mechanicals that are facing Updike. And the fence, you can see that they have added some arborvitae. So those are the two items that are for your consideration this evening.
I reviewed this, and even though the applicant's here, I thought that we had enough information to proceed and make a decision on this.
Sure. Yeah, I'm fine.
I hate to table things.
Sure. Yeah.
I have a motion that we can go ahead and proceed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If anyone would like to. Go ahead.
Public hearing.
Oh, I'll open the public hearing and close the public hearing, and I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Okay, I guess I'll do it. Need my cheat sheet. With respect to the property located at 2101 Updike Road, I would move to approve the dimensional variances for the fence exceeding 4 feet in height and for ground-mounted mechanicals located in the Updike Road frontage because the applicant has demonstrated practical difficulties. Compliance with the strict letter of the ordinance would be burdensome due to where the property is located and to a large extent due to the fact that this is a memory care. So, for example, with the fence is required for the residents' safety, so it really is a safety issue. There's no injustice to any of the adjoining neighbors, and the unique circumstances have been demonstrated again, and I think to some respect, just because of the location of the property and the only place where they could locate the mechanical equipment and the specific use that requires some additional things that you might not allow otherwise. And it's just not self-created. If approved, application for all necessary permits must be made within 5 business days for the existing fence and AC units, and additional evergreen screening shall be required to screen those air conditioner units and fence, and must meet or exceed the height of the units and fence at the time of planning. It was noted there were some arborvitaes, and I will leave it to the planning department to make sure that sufficient screening is there.
Support.
Have a motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Granted. So,
Motion to adjourn.
can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support?
Yes.
Oh.
All in favor?
No, we're not.
All those in favor? All right, meeting is adjourned.
Oh, yeah.